What's going on, my broskies? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So, as of me making this video right now, the game is on maintenance for server issues. I don't even know if it's a server issue, but for server-related things. The game is down for quite an extended maintenance, actually. It's for quite a long time. But we're just in this lull period right now, post-Kizuna. We don't know what's coming next, but we're just going to make this discussion video, really just, discussing what makes a legend good. Because I know that, since the release of the Gear 5 celebration and anniversary this year, we've had a lot of new players join the game, as we always do. And some people may ask, why do I think some characters are better than others? And I kind of want to discuss that a little bit more. Obviously, we could make a really long discussion video with a lot of other people in the community, talking about why each individual unit is either good or bad. But I just want to make this more of a broad discussion, kind of covering lots of different points and all of that. And the real kicker is Nami, and this is what we could really start with here, is because Nami is widely considered by most hardcore players to be the best legend in the game, and some people may look at her and say, well, why is Nami the best? So I want to discuss that and then kind of bring up some other characters that people may think is some of the best units in the game, and kind of give you reasons as to why characters maybe aren't as good as what they either should be or what other people think that they are. So Nami in particular, just starting off, her class and type combinations are amazing. Psy and Free Spirit. If you're a Psy Free Spirit unit, you're already looking pretty good. Also adding Striker to that mix as well is very solid. Striker have some very powerful units too. Lots of Super Sugo Fest exclusives. And then her captain ability, there's just lots to break down here. The fact that she gives cooldown reduction for herself, but then it gives all other characters -1. So she is a pseudo speed farming captain, just allowing you to clear content faster is always a positive. Then she gives the attack boost to Psy Fighter and Free Spirit, so her same types and classes she gives buffs to, which is so good. 5.25 to 5.5 based on the timing of the previous attack. Basically, if you keep hitting perfect, you're going to maintain a 5.5 bonus. And I mean, that is definitely one of the things you have to take into consideration when determining whether a character is good or bad, is what's the overall attack multiplier that they can provide as a captain. And 5.5, I would say, is pretty good. Obviously, we have characters that can exceed that right now, but still, for what she does and how can she synergize with other characters, it's very, very good. And then we have an HP boost adding as well, so just adds tankiness, makes Psy recovery and tandem slots beneficial to the same types and classes that she boosts the chances of landing on a tandem slot, which she makes beneficial, and you can abuse super tandem with her, of course. When an enemy inflicts you with paralysis, reducing paralysis duration completely, and then reduce this character's cooldown depending on how many turns of paralysis you've removed. So this is just another key component of determining whether a character is good or not, is utility within their captain. Characters that have abilities like this are insanely valuable to have. Even some of the older characters that have utility captains like Stampede Luffy or Halloween Ace, they're pretty old units in today's day and age when you compare them, but with that utility in their captain, and especially with the introduction of level limit break enhancing their attack multipliers, they're still very usable, and this just adds to it. So just across the board, this character covers just about every single base that you would need to hit as a captain. Good types and classes, cooldown reduction, HP boost, great attack multiplier, don't know if I already said that, matching slots, makes them appear more often, and then really good utility that not a lot of characters get access to, because not only does she remove the paralysis completely, but also reduces her cooldown based on the amount of turns of paralysis that you did. So this allows you to use her special earlier and then get it back immediately if you're inflicted with paralysis. And I mean, we could just continue on with that special cooldown reduction, removing Rainbow Shield and Resilience by 7. It does lots of damage to all enemies. It allows you to paralyze the enemy for 3 turns that goes through all immunity. And then it adds a chain addition and also a base attack boost to your Psy Fighter Free Spirit, Psy Striker Free Spirit, based on the amount of turns of paralysis that she's removed, because you can actually, stall further than her max cooldown, which is at 12 turns with an expansion. If you stall for even more turns past 12, you can actually stack this chain and base attack boost to be even higher. But it's a very simple effect, but it stacks well with other characters. Great utility, damage dealing special, which helps with supports that she can have attached to her. Allowing you to paralyze the enemy through immunity is very strong. Chain addition, base attack boost, when it's not very good by itself, but it's the fact that it can synergize with some of the other units in the game, giving you attack attack, orb, etc. affinity, you know? And then of course her super class special is also incredible. Another damage dealing effect, removing threshold by 5, so even more utility. And then changes her own block slot, or her own slot including block, into a tandem slot, so you can generate her super tandem. And then also you get a 2.25 conditional boost against paralyzed enemies, which she is able to proc through immunity with her special. So this is really strong, you know, self-proccing conditional boost. And as we've already talked about, her captain, her special, and her superclass all have like really unique abilities to remove enemies' utility, or remove enemies' gimmicks with utility. So all of these components combined into one character is a really neat package. And then of course a very good support effect, which is very understated, and then a super tandem that is arguably one of the best super tandems in the game, more importantly because it stacks with Nico Robin, which we already know how good she is. But being able to get a tandem attack boost, only a 2.25, but the real kicker is boosting the effectiveness of your conditional boosts by plus 0.5, which she herself provides a 2.25 conditional boost, making it go to 2.75. If you stack it with Robin, having 2 conditional boosts, get a 0.5 increase, and then also getting a tandem attack boost. So many people already know why Nami is very, very good in normal pieces of content, because you can use her in just about any content in the game and she's going to be good. Even if there's no like gimmicks you have to remove regarding paralysis, rainbow shield, resilience, or threshold, even if none of that is in the content, everything else she does is already amazing, and it's the synergy that she has with Sai and Free Spirit. So this is why people widely consider this character to be one of the best legends in the entire game. So let's just pivot a little bit here and talk about Enma Zora. I know a lot of people are big fans of this unit. I also like what this character does, but you have to admit that this character's usability is nowhere near as good as Nami's, because the amount of hoops you need to jump through in order to get this guy to perform the way that he is designed to work is very annoying. So just looking at this guy here, I mean, he's quick Free Spirit slasher, so no real issues there. And then his captain ability is very convoluted, but basically to kind of give it a bit of a sum up, you basically have to consume 10 Wano slots in order to generate his maximum captain ability, the Enma Unleashed Captain. And if you're able to do that, then what you get out of it is pretty insane, as you will get, I mean, you always get the health boost, but then the Enma Captain ability, it gives you like cooldown reduction. 2 turns for strength, dex, and quick, and then -1 cooldown to Free Spirit and Slasher, so that's already really good. And then the attack boost with the Enma Unleashed, 5.75. Tandem slots are beneficial. You get all these type slots are beneficial for himself. Recovery slots are changed into Wano slots. Makes his normal attacks super effective against all types, and also increases enemies' damage limiter up to 2x, which is a very unique ability that only this character really gets access to. Then it furthermore says that if this character has a tandem slot or a Wano slot and you attack with him, he allows you to inflict 1.5 increased damage taken towards the opponent, but then you do get the massive health cut at the end of every turn. So his Enma Unleashed Captain is incredible. Like, if you look at this at face value, and if you just take away the health cut, it's probably one of the best captain abilities in the game, but it's the fact that you need to consume 10 Wano slots before you actually get this component to launch, and you only really get it for 1 turn because you get a 60% health cut at the end of the turn. And basically, if your crew is unable to do this health cut, you will permanently get a weakened state captain for the rest of the run. So it's high risk, high reward, because if you build your team correctly and you can abuse this, yes, what you're getting out of it is incredible. But it's the fact that if you do screw up, you could really just ruin your whole run, which is a big issue, right? We move on to that special though, and the special synergizes great. He does damage dealing special, 3.25 times attack to Slasher Free Spirit, and then if you have a Slasher or Free Spirit Captain, you get a 2.25 conditional boost against increased damage taken, which, remember, his Captain ability in the max potential form can inflict the enemy with that debuff, but of course it's very hard to do. And then if he has a Wano slot, you will go ahead and increase the effectiveness of tandem slots to 2.5 times, so basically making tandem slots just as powerful as a Wano slot, and then changes all orbs into tandem, including his own Wano slot, which is also pretty unique too. So just all this works very well together, but it's the fact that you need to use him in a certain way in order to get him to work. So while this character is very powerful, when you compare this to what we talked about just before with Nami, you can just see that like what Nami does is already pretty broken, and there's no setup really required for her to work. You just run conditional boosters, which Nami is one herself. You run Nico Robin alongside her, and you just need like one other Straw Hat focus unit or one other character on her super tandem chain, and then you're just off to the races in doing absurd amounts of damage, whilst also Nami providing incredible utility across the board as well. So, you know, it's pretty cut and dry in terms of these two characters when you compare them together in terms of which one is better. Yes, what Zoro does is amazing, but Nami does it just easier, right? So it is what it is. And then changing a little bit of direction once again. So the two characters we talked about with Nami and Zoro, those two characters are really focused about doing as much damage as possible against enemies. Whereas this legend right here, Legend Momo, that came out during the anniversary, or during the Gear 5 celebration, should I say, this character isn't really focused on doing as much damage as possible, but this character is just a really nice character to own. And that is sometimes very hard to compare this to another legend that kind of has a different role that is used to fulfill on certain teams. Momo does some things a little bit different. So again, Sai, Free Spirit Slasher, I mean, nothing wrong with that at all. But his captain ability is interesting. So it is only a 5.25 times attack when you compare them to the other multipliers we were looking at earlier. You get a health boost, reducing cooldown of Free Spirit and Slashes by 2 turns at the start of the fight, so very good at speed farming, and boost EXP gained by 2.25. So this is really nice for beginner players, allowing them to level up faster, pick up a bunch of stamina meats, and clear content as they go. Now at the start of the fight, you will activate your own special. Furthermore, if he has a Wano slot and you tap with him, he increases the duration of attack buffs on your crew by 1 turn. But the real kicker is this last component of his captain ability, where it says that any time that you are inflicted with bind, whether it be from a negative effect from one of your specials or from an enemy effect, then that debuff is never applied to your crew, so you're never inflicted with bind when he is your captain. Instead, the bind is changed into increasing the duration of your attack buffs by 1 turn. This is pretty insane, as we saw this with versus Blackbeard, who had the ability to say anytime you're inflicted with despair, just treat it as if it never happened and change the effect to give your crew a 1.2 chain multiplicative buff. That is absurd, and this character does something very similar. So you have a character here that is focused on Free Spirit and Slasher, has a health boost, lots of cooldown, EXP boosting captain, launches this special at the start of the fight, which we'll talk about soon, allows you to extend the attack buffs very, very frequently with tapping Wano slots, and the effect of just removing bind completely and further increasing the duration of attack buffs. Like, that in and of itself is very good, and while it's not the same thing as Nami and Zoro that are focused around doing as much damage as possible, this is just a really nice character to have, as it allows you to get through certain pieces of content. Maybe content has a lot of bind or end of turn damage related stuff, which you might need, like a resilience buff. If the enemy has resilience, this guy's going to be good for that, as that special does a health cut. He does damage at the end of the turn for 10 turns, so this can last for a pretty long time. He reduces attack down and Rainbow Shield by 7 turns, so great utility, and then a 2.5 attack boost for 4 turns, which, remember, he can go ahead and extend it by 1 turn every time he taps with a Wano slot, and his special gives him a Wano slot and locks it for 1 turn. So you're having a Wano slot for at least 2 turns, and by tapping Wano at the start of the quest, you keep extending that attack boost, you keep it up, so you can have it last for a pretty long time. And furthermore, with his super type special, allowing you to change block and type slots into Wano, so you can just generate more Wano slots to extend the duration of attack, and the effect itself increases attack buffs by 2 turns. So again, as I said, this is not the same thing as Nami and Zoro. This character is not focused around doing as much damage as possible. This is more of a convenience legend that allows you to get through content very easy, especially if you're a new player coming into the game. This is a really nice character to have. So overall, there are just different roles that need to be fulfilled in certain pieces of content. And I mean, we can just finish off here with Gear 5 6 plus Luffy, as you're seeing on screen right here. The thing about it is that Gear 5 Luffy, he is very, very good, but he just performs different roles on teams. Like, this unit is actually really hard to build a very good team for, especially, well, mainly if you're trying to build a team to have one of every color, and then you can abuse the full components of this character's captain ability, allowing you to get the super effective damage and making all specials become rainbow specials, basically, which is pretty powerful. But this character I know that a lot of people will talk about him and how good or bad he is and why they like the 6-star better. I mean, they just perform different roles on teams, you know? It is really dependent on the content that you're coming up against. But hopefully this kind of helps you out in determining, like, what is a good legend, you know? You've got characters that can both do utility as well as doing amazing damage outputting things in the game, as we've seen with Nami and with Zoro. Well, Zoro doesn't really have a lot of utility or gimmick removal focused stuff. Zoro is mainly just doing raw damage output, but then you've got Nami, which can do amazing damage as well as having god tier utility, which is why many consider her to be the best in the game. But then you've got like Momonosuke that we talked about, and that character, while it doesn't do the absurd damage of Zoro and what Nami can do, but the convenience of that character, being able to just, you know, pace yourself through content, not even have to worry about a lot of the things because of the amazing gimmick removal in his captain ability. So in certain pieces of content, maybe that's the thing that you want to go for. And then you got like this Gear 5 Luffy, and I think that in a lot of content, Gear 5 Luffy is probably not going to be the most optimal captain to use because he is pretty hard to build for, and if you're trying to get through content quickly, Gear 5 might not be the best option, but he is a very good option at clearing every piece of content in the game just because of his design. But it is a little bit difficult to do that. It is, again, as we said, it is dependent on the content you're coming up against at the time. And there's lots of other examples that we could have gone through in this video. If I did, we'd be here for like 3-4 hours, but I just wanted to pick and choose some examples comparing the two big damage dealers with Nami and Zoro, even though you can interchange them, but it is still hard to use Zoro depending on your team build and what gimmicks you need to deal with at the time. And then you've got like just Momo, and you could even take like Legend Mako, for example, the EXP boosting Mako. While he doesn't have like gimmick removals per se, that unit is still a nice unit to have just to breeze through some content with his superclass special. Wave clear special does wave clear, attack boosting stuff. He's a Psy focus unit too, which kind of helps too. But hopefully this video was somewhat helpful and just an interesting discussion. But hopefully you enjoyed this one, and if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.